Welcome everyone to the EPL show. We've had our international break. We've had a week off supporting our native homelands. I'm Pom, joined as always by everyone's favourite West Ham fan. He's definitely mine, Mr. Fazz, top of the league for 21 hours. How are you?
Everyone's favourite West Ham fan. That's like saying everyone's favourite German, isn't it? Like it's pretty... It's a pretty small group. I know West Ham fans can be quite annoying at the best of times, and I tell you what, it is the best of times for us. And it's good to be back. It's good to be back after the international break. Personally, I hate international breaks this time of year. Qualifiers don't really do it for me, and friendlies certainly don't do it for me. And we spoke a couple of weeks ago when Gareth Southgate selects a squad like he did. That does not do it for me at all. So it's good to be back. Proper stuff, Premier League. Let's get it sorted.
Well, I mean, we did criticise Harry Maguire, and he was on the field 12 minutes and scored. So,
oh man, oh Harry, I don't know.
That did make me laugh though. Good day to Nate. Good day to Chills. Salty Aussie becoming a member. Good day to you, Salty Aussie mate. Let's get straight into the week that we didn't cover and our week off, and still holding that 3-point lead. Not much change. The ones I got wrong, Faz got right, and the ones he got wrong, I got right. But we start with your boys, the Hammers. Yes. They just continue, don't they? They continue their miraculous run. You were top of the league. Times must have been good.
21 hours. Top of the league for 21 hours. Very happy with it. Look, everyone will see that Luton Town, West Ham 2-1. Everyone will see that and say, oh, that's not a great score. But from start to finish, West Ham absolutely dominated. It never looked dangerous. Luton got a late goal. And to be honest, it could have easily been, 1-4, 1-5. So the scoreline doesn't reflect on it. I'm stoked with West Ham. Made the good times roll, and we'll talk about a bit later about the importance of getting these early points. And happy days, that opening game. Love it, and long may it continue.
Mate, it was a good game, and we talked about the England team. Bowen was on the score sheet, got man of the match that game. He's really found that form from a few years ago, hasn't he? Like, there was a bit of a quiet patch last year, but he's back to his best, and he's enjoying his football again.
Absolutely. And when you've got a player like James Ward-Prowse passing you the ball and doing what he's doing in the middle, Bowen's just going to go from strength to strength. And I really think this is going to be his season where he just stamps his authority, and basically they'll riot in England if he doesn't make the squad next international break, because he's in great form and he's just continuing on. And you're right, around about that World Cup time, I think he was trying a little bit too hard. Missed out on the World Cup squad, probably, sulked a little bit and, really dropped his bottom lip, and his form showed that. But since the middle part of last season, he's really, really come into his own, and yeah, he's just going to keep going.
Mate, long may it continue. I totally agree with you. Lockie Jack, getting excited. Best team in the comp, Liverpool.
We'll get to them soon. Yeah. Hey, Nate, love it.
He's jealous. He's jealous. We've got Sheffield United versus Everton. 2-2. And this was a game that you and me, Faz, said was going to be a ball draw.
Yeah.
And it came goals. Cam Archer, he gave them much needed goals that Sheffield United have been craving. He got the best man of the match. But Everton, this was they showed some goals.
Yeah, they showed a bit of a little bit of husper, as they say. They showed a bit of something that we hadn't probably seen in the first part of the season. The own goal from Pickford, I mean, we love him, and that'll be played for forever. You felt sorry for him. Nothing you could do. It's just one of those ones. We've all played in a game where that's happened, but it doesn't make it any less funny. I thought that 2-2 was probably a fair result in this one, and it's one of those ones. Both teams will walk away happy with the point, but deep down they're probably thinking, "Geez, we probably left 2 out there as well."
Mate, it was an interesting one, wasn't it? It was an interesting game. I mean, both of these sides needed 3 points, but they also needed not to lose.
Not
to lose. So
a very early 6-pointer, this one, and neither of them got the chocolates.
It was indeed. And then we went to Brentford, hosting Bournemouth, and this game had just about everything, didn't it? A late equaliser from Bryon Issa after Solanke and Brooks looked like he got the winner. 77 minutes in. This game here, both teams literally could have won this game at any one point in time.
It's rinse and repeat from the game previous. Both teams will be happy they got the point, but both should be walking away, especially Bournemouth probably should be walking away thinking, gee, we left 2 on the table. Just a little watch this space, this Solanke. He's really had a underrated start to the season, and I think we should be keeping our eyes on him. Could he have an Ivan Toney type season in him? I rate his size and his ability to get around, so scored another goal. Let's see how he goes. But I think he's certainly had a really positive start. And again, both teams Bournemouth probably needed the win a little bit more. But a point away from home, you're never going to scoff to that. So,
mate, it's going to be an interesting one, isn't it? It's both of these sides started pretty well this season, haven't they?
Yeah. I mean, they just going about their business, and I just think Brentford especially started superbly. I think they'll keep going,
mate. Indeed. And then we go down to the Spurs and Postacoglu's wonderful side continue their great start, 5-2. It is a cup of tea I am drinking. Thank you very much. Good game in Oz.
Yes, Spurs Burnley. Now, I come under a fair bit of criticism a couple of weeks ago when I said controversially that I think that I think a company will be the first manager sacked, and I'm going to stand by that. They cannot play their way in the Premier League. They were the sexiest team we've seen in the Championship for a very long time, but that will not stand up unless they spend billions. He's come from the Man City football factory, as they call it, and it just simply won't stand up. And they proved it. Fancy, I just sat and I laughed. Fancy, you've just been promoted, yeah? Why are you playing like this against the Spurs, who you know are an attacking team, who you know are going to score goals? And honestly, yeah, they went up early, but it was a piss take. And I actually I'm gonna make a controversy. I don't see where their first points are coming from, Burnley.
You live by the sword, the die by the sword. You were real strong on it, Fazz, and I do agree with you. There's got to be like a respect level when you come into the Premier League.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Tottenham cut them apart, didn't they? I mean, it was great to see Son return to a bit of form. He finally got his first 3 goals in this game. After Lionel Messi called Romero the best centre-back in the world of football, he got on the score sheet. Really, I thought it flattered Burnley, but so far, great start.
Yeah, great start. And they should be happy with themselves. Good to see Son doing his thing, and I think he's had a pretty good start to the season. He got his reward in this game, but you just it's really good for Tottenham to score 5 goals. That says a lot, but to me this says a hell of a lot more about Burnley conceding 5 at home. You know, to me this cries out for a when you get promoted, a Sam Allardyce, a Shaun Dux, who they had, you need to batten down the hatches. You need to be going for a cheeky 1-0 or try and get the draw here, because that's just, you're already 4 games in or whatever we're in, and they're -8 on goal difference. That's relegation numbers already. So I don't like it.
It's not a great start for them. He is a Carlton fan.
Yes.
Indeed, he is. He was one of the men who brought Brendan Bolton to the Blues. In Sweden, they have a betting called Sky. I'm not even going to attempt that, Cameron. 30 games. EPL. Hey, I like that, Cameron. Gamble responsibly, mate.
Let us know. Let us know how it goes. But yeah, gamble responsibly.
And then we've got Old Forest at Stamford Bridge. Smash and grab. We know I think he's still in the comments. Mr. Nate. I know he is a big Chelsea man, Nate Oates. What happened here?
This is Burnley. Look at this game. This is what we're talking about. Not Forest. Go to Chelsea. Batten down the hatches. Be hard to score against. And you're always going to get an opportunity, no matter how defensive you play or no matter how poor new teams coming in. Look at Luton against West Ham, for example. You're always going to get a opportunity. Could be 1, might be 2. That's what Forest got. Chelsea couldn't score. Forest are hard to beat. It's a 1-0 win, and what a valuable 3 points.
I mean, massive 3 points. And Steve Cooper, we've got Mr. Nate say, bring Steve Cooper in. I mean, he's been linked with some big jobs in the press in the UK. You can't fault it. He got his tactics absolutely spot on, didn't he? And you know what? Forest, that's a huge 3 points. And questions are going to remain on Pochettino, isn't there? And have they made the right call?
I was big on it. Maybe it looks like wrongfully so. I said Pochettino is the best manager almost in the Prem. I thought he'd be doing better at the moment. Big squad. We speak about it most weeks. Will it take them a long time to settle? I don't know. There's not a good result for them. The West Ham result, it's been a dreadful start. But yeah, I still think they'll come good, but they're going to have to turn a little bit, I think.
It's going to be interesting. A lot of work to do, and we will cover them a bit more later in the show. Man City, the reigning champions, against Fulham. A potential before the game. Some people thought that Fulham had shown a lot most of the year. This was going to be Fulham's first test. Probably City's first time to really get a bit of a competition, and they absolutely blew Fulham away after that first half. And Erling Haaland been ominous to the rest of the competition with his he's found his goal scoring boots. And City, when they turn it on, they're just a level above, aren't they?
Yeah, and I think this is a little bit of a fear, or send the fear to the rest of the competition. And that's, I don't think Man City have really gotten out of first gear yet. I think they're going about the motions at the moment, which is fine as long as you can turn it on late and the build up. But this 5-1, I mean, you look at that first half, and I think this didn't really feel like a 5-1 game. Yes, they blew them away in that second half, but I just felt like Man City were going through the motions and they got the result. And I tell you what, if winning 5-1 is going through the motions, they're shit. They're gonna be good, and they just doing their thing. There's not much you can take out of this game. I think as a Fulham fan, like, you look at this score and think 5-1, holy shit, this is diabolical. It's not. It's not diabolical for them. I think it's just what Man City are going to do, that and worse, to many, many, many teams this season. And dare I say it, and it will happen. I know it will happen. And don't jump down my throat, Arsenal fans. Yes, you're the Invincibles, blah, 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 blah. But I don't see where their first loss is coming. I don't see where it's going to come. It will come, but I'm not going to be like, well, there it is. Do you know what I mean? So as much as the Arsenal fans be like, oh, no, there's only one Invincibles, I can see this team doing it. That absolutely.
you make a good point. Do you know what I mean? Like, I want to agree and say Man City will be forever shit, but unfortunately, with all that, do you know what I mean? With all that cash, they are they've built a sensational side, and we saw it, haven't we? They've been challenged. We saw it a couple of weeks ago with City. You think that they're going to draw, and then out of nowhere, they've got a level. And I agree with you, Faz. This game, it was almost like they were toying with their food, wasn't it?
Yes, yeah.
And just waiting to break out. And once they did, they were just too good.
It's like you turn on the National Geographic channel and you see the orca, throwing up the penguins before they, eventually swallow it. That's exactly what it was like. It was not good reading. In the answer to, is there any Fulham fans in Australia? I have a mate, Alex Munro, his name is Munners. Now he's a Tottenham fan, but his younger brother Joey Munro, he's a Fulham fan. So there is at least one in Australia that I know. So Joey Munro, he's a Fulham fan.
Mate, I love it. And then we've got a team that we've both been quite hot on, Brighton, against a team that we both have been quite hot on, Newcastle. And this was probably just overshadowed by the performance of how good Evan Ferguson is, the young 18, 19-year-old Irish striker. He brought this game alive. Consolation goal for Newcastle at the end from Carl Wilson. But I tell you what, De Zerbi and his plaudits continue. Brighton do look tasty.
I can't decide with this game what I take more out of. I love Brighton. We've been very, very positive on Brighton for a long time. I think we've got to start looking at Newcastle. I think we've got to start having a little glance at them. We're going to talk about it later, but European football coming up, 3 points from 4 games. This is not an ideal start for a team that's pouring money into their club. Brighton do Brighton things. They've found another one. They'll continue to find these players. I'd love to see it, but to me, I think there's a little bit of a watch this space. We need to keep an eye on Newcastle because another couple of poor results before Champions League starts could be a real rough season for them. They have to make Europe. That is the bare minimum for their finances, for their squad. They have to make Europe this season. They don't want to find themselves sitting 15th, 14th, 15th come December and all that. This is a watch this space for me.
Mate, and Teresa, we know she's a big Newcastle fan. They were shocking at the bat. They were, and I still agree with her. I still think they'll finish. They'll finish in the top 4. They'll buy well. But
no, absolutely. January's going to be massive for them. January's going to be massive. They'll buy. We know they've got the money. I'm not saying throw the baby out the bathwater. It's just kind of like a little bit of a raised eyebrow at the moment with some of the other teams who are starting to fill those top 6 spots. It is very hard. We know what it's like. It is very hard to play catch up in the new year when fixtures start to pile up. It is very, very hard to play catch up. So I just watch this space about getting some points on the board soon. Mate,
much love. Thank you very much for coming in, and thank you very much, GGX. Dr. Hines asks, could there be either soccer equivalent of Buddy Franklin? I think it's Erling's going to go down as one of the greats. I think we can already establish from now, can't we? But
absolutely,
obviously, there's been a lot of people that have done what he's done. Maybe not in England and maybe not in recent times, but it's a long career, isn't it?
It is a long career. Yeah, he's a young man. I think you'll be one of those. Yeah, you're definitely one of the best. I actually said to my wife the other day, I said, we're living in the same era as Erling Haaland. And I think we can't take that for granted.
Mate, spot on. And then we got Palace versus the Wolves. this was a tough game for us to predict, and this was a goal.
Taking my hat off. Taking my hat off. Crystal Palace. I said in the preseason, I said they need to decide who they want to be. Do they want to be just a middle of the table team, survive relegation, just stay plonked in that table forever? Do they want to start pushing? Do they want to start pushing the top 6 or whatever, top 7? Did I think they had it in them? Absolutely not. That's why I'm taking my hat off to them. I love what they're doing. Absolutely love what they're doing. Burnley, take note. This is what you've got to do. And this is what I talked about with Newcastle before. There are teams. I mean, Palace already are 4 points ahead of Newcastle at the moment. It doesn't sound like a lot, but 4 points ahead of them already. You know, these types of teams, your Palaces, your West Hams, your Brightons, Brentford, they're fighting to be the best of the rest, right? They're fighting to be the best of the rest. Talk about the top 6, could be a top 7, whatever it is. They're fighting for that spot. And I think Palace, beautiful. I love what they've done. Yes, it's against the Wolves. Yes, we know where the Wolves are going to end up. Yes. But you get the result. The result's a result. And I love what they're doing.
Mate, I couldn't agree more. I mean, Palace, they've had them. They had that big loss of Zaha, and people asked how that would go. A lot of people don't like Big Roy, don't like Roy Hodgson, and he's too old. But that they've got a real feel good about them, haven't they, Palace? They're playing in a real positive way, like you say. They're entertaining. They're giving it a go. Real good young players as well. It'd be interesting to see what happens when Elise comes back as well, because he's another player that I really rate. And you know what? They're playing good football at the moment, and they're tough to beat.
Absolutely. Be tough to beat. That's the rule number 1. And we talk about, and I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, give me your Lucky Jack. Yeah. No, I don't have a bad head of hair. It's not too bad, but thanks, mate. Give me your young, foreign, sexy European managers and shove them up your ass, because I'm all for experience. I'm all for these dinosaurs, as they fucking say. I hate that term, but Hodgson knows how to win Premier League matches. That's what he does. And they've got this tight-knit group, a small squad. I love a small squad because they've got them together. They know they're going to play every game. And I can see them pushing a European Conference place, which we know is a great competition when you get there. I can see them pushing that place if they continue this form.
You never know. I mean, it seems a real open season this year. So
it's very open.
Got to buck the trend.
Absolutely.
And then we've got Liverpool versus Villa. And Liverpool, got to say to them, we know I hate Liverpool, but this was a tough potential fixture, and they showed their class in this one.
It's Liverpool. Someone who spoke about, I think it was Lockie Jack, very, very early on. Liverpool best team in the comp. I'm going to say something about Liverpool, which I don't think I've ever said in my, 30 plus years on this planet. Liverpool are actually the most under the radar team in the comp at the moment, which is wild because it's Liverpool, for God's sake. But I think they're flying under the radar. We're all talking about Man City, obviously. We're all talking about Arsenal because they, they'll always be the bridesmaid, never the bride. We're talking about Newcastle. Look at all the money they're forking out. New managers here, new managers there. An England team being European champions like West Ham. We're all talking about that. Mate, people are sleeping on Liverpool. And it's wild. I cannot believe I live in a time where we're sleeping on Liverpool, but they are playing some bloody good football. And a couple more weeks' time, we won't be sleeping on them anymore. We'll be saying, holy shit, they can contend.
Hey, tell you what, I think people forget that these guys are a real good squad. They've bought well as well. I think they've brought players in who are probably what they're lacking. And when they play like they did this week, there's no doubt about their class. Like, I think people have forgotten how good Mo Salah is. Darwin seems to be really enjoying his football. I think that this could be. I'm with you. I think they'll surprise a few people. And I think people, when you have one bad year in the Premier League, everyone forgets about you. And I think it could be to detriment for a lot of sides.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like I said, you sleep on Liverpool, you're going to get to Christmas and be like, holy crap, they're 3 points off top. What's going on? It's wild. And look, if you don't, Liverpool are your quintessential team. If you don't like them, you genuinely hate them. I don't think they're many people's second team. They're certainly not my second team. I respect what they do, but it's amazing how they haven't really featured in a lot of conversation. But I'm telling you now, they will from now. That's for sure.
It's a good one. This from Lockie Jack.
Oh, it's a shit logo, isn't it?
It always confuses me as well since they've changed it. And I agree with Terry. 4-4-2. It was good for Alf Ramsey and Mike Bassett. I mean, probably the best football movie of all time. You can't beat the classics. But we finished with Arsenal United and a game that could have gone either way. You had the controversial VAR. You had fucking Fazz's mate Declan Rice scoring his first goal. A guy named after the son of God adding injury to the wounds. And United, for me, everything that's wrong with United was showcased in this game. It was I felt like up until the goal, up until the second goal that was disallowed, I felt like United were trying to play for a draw for an hour of that game. They caught them on the counter again. And tell you what, it showed United how far away they are from the top 4 clubs in the land, I felt.
Possibly. I'm not sure I'm that harsh on them. I think 3-1 looks bad, but I mean, it was the 96th minute and the 101st minute or something. They're wild times to concede. I think pretty stiff with the VAR call, but that's the VAR. And you know what? I guess you're pretty stiff when a bloke who never scores goals, barely gets assists, scores in Declan Rice. I mean, that's a pretty stiff way as well. I don't think United were as bad as what 3-1 offered. But yeah, Arsenal get the result. They walk away pretty happy. And United are a little bit of a watch this space. I still think they're in that transitional phase, but how long can you stay in that phase? Now's probably bordering the line a little bit too long, but we'll see.
I think United have got a lot of work to do. Anthony asks, is Onana a boss? I don't think he is. I think he's a very good keeper. I think it's going to take him a while to acclimatise to the inconsistencies of United's back four and the pace of the game. But I feel United, it's going to be interesting to see how Hodgland straightens them up. When he came on, I felt like United could get a bit better of the ball, but I feel like there's something more at United that we don't know about. They don't seem a happy camp, and I think the start this year has shown not everything's hunky-dory at Old Trafford.
No, and if you go by a few social media rumors, there are a few things that might be going on behind the scenes there. But look, they're kind of like Liverpool United, that they're a big club, they're a good club. I still rate Ten Hag highly. I just think they've got to pull their finger out soon, or it might end up being another wasted season, which is the last thing you really need.
It's going to be interesting. It's going to be an interesting season for United. Long season, though, and a lot can turn around, but we have got the first month out of the way. We've done our Player of the Month nominations, and Fazz has gone with maybe a surprise for some. You've gone with Big Hot Son. Talk to us, Fazz.
It is a bit of a surprise. Maybe I even surprised myself a little bit. I think his criticism was pretty harsh in the first few games. I think he with Harry Kane gone, I think he was Tottenham's best player in all their wins. He finally got his result, getting his goals on the weekend, and I just think he's started better than what I think people are giving him credit for, because people just look at the raw numbers. But I think his positioning's been fantastic. A new system under Postecoglou. Yeah, he's just going to get better from here. And I genuinely think he's been player of the month.
He's got, I mean, it's probably the toughest job in football at the moment. I mean, up until a couple of weeks before the season started, he was the vice captain. Suddenly, he's now the new captain, new coach. How does that forward line function without Carrie McCain? I'm with you. I don't think Son's been that bad. I thought in the first game, it was one of them games that I felt he was stiff to be subbed. But he's been lively. I think he's just been overshadowed by Maddison. But I think he's shown his class this week with just how good Son is.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, the tempting one was to go with Haaland as the player of the month. But yeah, I think he kind of has his own bar set, doesn't he, really? It sounds a bit harsh on him, but it has his own bar set. So, Son for me.
Mate, I love it. And Anthony asks, Tonali, well, I mean, he started off well, didn't he? I mean, got a goal his first game. I think Syria are to the Premier League as a CDM. Oh. There's got to be like a grassing period, hasn't there?
Absolutely. Coming from most foreign leagues, like the Premier League is the toughest league in the world.
It's gonna be an interesting one, isn't it? I mean, he's world class. Let's be honest.
Yeah, so, he'll come good. I wouldn't worry about that just yet. 4 games in, I wouldn't even be starting the conversation. I think he's quality, and quality always stands out.
It does indeed, mate. And Fazz will love me for this. I think I know James Maddison at the moment is getting the love, but I think what James Ward-Prowse has done, he's come in. I think people need to put it in perspective. He's come in to a team that many people had bottom 4. Like the bookies, when we did our preseason, they hated him.
Absolutely.
He's coming into a midfield that's really been disjointed, but losing their leader, their hero, the man of the hour, Declan Rice. He's come in, he stepped into it playing 2 games in the Championship, almost like he hasn't missed a beat. He pulls the strings, everything he touches, 3 assists, 1 goal. Honestly, I watched West Ham and I somehow think their midfield is better without Rice than it was with it.
Oh, that's a good call. Look, when you messaged me earlier saying player of the month, we'll have a talk about it. I did look, I'm like, James Ward-Prowse. Oh, I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be that guy who picks a West Ham player. So I'm so glad you did, because he's been incredible. And I tell you what, Southgate, how this bloke didn't get in the England squad. Anyway, that's another conversation for later. 3 appearances, 3 assists, a goal. He's just controlling that midfield. And I think the call you made just before about is West Ham's midfield better without Declan Rice? It's a great call in the fact that no one's disputing, right? Declan Rice is a better player than the midfield, right? That's not even a dispute. But the balance and the sheer depth now in that midfield, I'm telling you, it's better. It's much better. You know, it's not the Declan Rice show anymore. He did a lot of work for West Ham, and I'll never forget him for what he did. But now the roles are being shared. You got Alvarez playing that defensive role, just locking down. You got Ward-Prowse, who's got the license to just put through balls in, and we're seeing the results he's having. I do think Ward-Prowse has come in and completely changed West Ham. And when you change a club, how can you not be considered player of the month? Not only should he be player of the month, he should also be in the England squad. But anyway.
Mate, yeah, I mean, how he didn't get an England call-up, I don't know. I understand the depth in England's midfield, but I mean, James Maddison probably getting the kudos because he plays for Spurs, higher profile in the English media. But I think James Ward-Prowse, he's Jesus. I think he'd make any starting 11 of any of the 20 sides the way he's playing at the minute.
Absolutely. You can't underestimate a player with the assists that he gets, and with the height that West Ham have, with their centre backs and even their midfielders with Alvarez and Souček, those assists are just going to keep skyrocketing. Every corner, every free kick, they're just going to keep skyrocketing because he's got targets to hit. And it's very David Moyes. So long may it continue, but great shout. I'm glad you did it because I didn't want to be that guy who bought a West Ham player to player of the month. So I'm very glad you did it. But as God is my witness, hand on heart, if he has another month like this, I will bring him to the table next month.
Well, we'll see how he's next month, but a good start. And we start with with different bits of news. This was UEFA who have done an article, and over the last 5 years, the average tenure of a manager around Europe is 16 months. So I'm asking the question, is 16 months enough? That's a season and a bit. If you think about it, a season and a bit, 2 transfer windows. That has been the average, and it's coming down, estimated by 2026 to be under a year. What are our thoughts on that?
I think it's a joke. 16 months. But that just shows you the business they're in, the money that's at stake. You can't afford to have a manager who's going to take him down and then rebuild and then come back up. And it just doesn't work that way anymore. It's the money involved and the pricing or the prize money that you get from different positions is astronomical. So the difference between finishing, say, 16th and 12th, we're talking millions and millions of pound difference. That's the reason managers getting sacked. I think it's not long enough. It's tough. It's a tough gig. You're getting players in. I don't know what the answer is. I think I will be that guy right now. So apologies, but you look at what West Ham doing with David Moyes. I think that needs to be. It's not the norm, which is really weird. It's not the norm, and I think that. Where would West Ham be now if they sacked David Moyes at the end of the season, brought a new sexy foreign manager in? Would they be in the same position? The answer is probably no. I think, dare I say it, everyone's looking for the next Pep. And he's probably ruined world football, to be honest, because everyone's looking for that sexy foreign manager, and they're just not out there. It just doesn't work. Sometimes you've got to win ugly. You've got to win dirty. And Pep ball does not work for your Burnleys, for your mid-table teams, your Stoke Cities, as they say. It does not work. So I don't know. I don't know what they want. I definitely know that 16 months is not long enough. Look at Arteta for Arsenal, building that project. If they don't win the league this year, are they going to sack him? I don't know. Are they? If they don't win the league this season, will Arsenal sack Arteta? They possibly could. Every chance. Terry's right. Ange will be sacked in 16 months under Levy because they just, yeah.
Yeah, you see, Terry's nailed it. And this has been our fear since we've talked about old Posty getting there, that you just know that Levy has illusions of grandeur. They'll start well, they'll have a mid-season blip, and suddenly Nagelsmann will be linked with a row and they'll swoop in and they'll take the risk. I agree with you. I think you look, cold hard facts are, and I was reading a bit of the article on the UEFA's website of the research. It's been done by an independent organisation, that the statistics behind sacking coaches as well, proving it's not working, that there's an average of 0.2 points difference between teams who have sacked coaches, less than 12 months as well. It's not a high success rate. You look at Liverpool, City, they've had their coach for a long time. You look at the historically good sides, they've had coaches they've built. You look at Potter at Brighton, that was a long time. They look like they've continued with the same course of action with De Zerbi as well. It seems to me chairmen are thinking that Pep is like everyone. But the problem is, and I don't mean to downplay Pep's work, look at where he's been. Barcelona, Bayern Munich, and Man City. All these teams have budget. All these teams have pull, power, and fame. Everyone wants to play for Barca. Everyone wants to play for Bayern. Everyone wants to play for City. It's not as easy for your Newcastles and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I think you're right about one of the things that you said about getting a new manager isn't always the answer. I just brought up the Premier League table from last season, and the teams that got relegated, Southampton, Leeds, Leicester, all replaced their managers, all still went down. West Ham, again, I'm that guy, didn't replace their manager, they stayed up. I think that's something, and again, Peter's right, worked well for Villa, and there are examples where it works well. But I genuinely believe if a team's going down, it doesn't matter what manager they got. Pep Guardiola wouldn't have saved Southampton. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't matter. So sometimes I think managers, you've just kind of, you've got a good one. If you've got a good one, you've got a good one.
I agree with you, and I think Pete's right. I think sometimes as well, you can blame clubs as well for getting a little bit lost in the hype. Like Gerrard, one season at Rangers, one and a bit seasons, they jumped the gun there. English coaches seem to be fast-tracked without doing the due diligence and the process. But then again, how do you know Steven Gerrard might have not worked out? Do you know what I mean? If he had a year, bought more players in.
Absolutely.
It's an interesting one, but teams seem to be quick to make a mistake, quick to sack the coach as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, I remember back when, West Ham fans demanded that we sacked Sam Allardyce. And you could argue rightly or wrongly, were we stagnating and did where they want to go? And they sacked him. But then they sacked him. Slaven Bilic, season and a half, sacked. Manuel Pellegrini, season, sacked. Trying to bring in these managers didn't work. And where'd they go back to? Where it all began. David Moyes, a Sam Allardyce type manager, and it went back. Sometimes sounds horrible. You've just got to accept who you are. And there's nothing wrong with accepting who you are. I said this a couple of weeks ago. Burnley, you are not Man City. You never will be. You're a dirty, dogged, fighting club, which is great. That's what West Ham are. So get a dirty, dogged, fighting manager. Do you know what I mean? Leave the sexiness to the clubs who can have that. And this is why we're seeing managers sacked all the time. And you can reel them out. That's I think the Bournemouth guy, he'll be walking on eggshells. He'll be gone soon. Like you just know they had a great manager in Gary O'Neill. Gone. Like Bournemouth, who do you think you are? Honestly, who do you think you are? Gary O'Neill, dogged fighter of a player, is a dogged fighter of a manager. Overperformed with a team who I was certain were going to go down, and they sack him just before the season starts for what? Some bloke who's got jet black hair who can slick it back and wears a skivvy. Fuck me, man. Who do you think you are? You're Bournemouth. They will sack him, and they'll get someone like a Dean Smith or a Shaun Dux, and he'd be back to where you were. You may as well just kept Gary O'Neill. It's fucking stupid. Anyway,
mate, I agree with you, and I agree with Pete. I think Gerrard was a mistake for Villa. I think Frank Lampard. It seems to be a common thing. A coach does well in a lower division. I think Terry makes a great point. Pep's got billions to spend. Do it at Swindon, Leyton Orient.
Bang.
That I think a great example, Terry, there is someone like Ange. He's gone up levels slowly. I feel like in the Premier League at the moment, there is a lot of coaches who have one good season at your Derby County, thrust into the spotlight, but your Moyes has gone round the houses. Preston, do you know what I mean? He's gone through the system. He knows his onions. Not many of these coaches are being thrust into obscurity. Do you know what I mean? Thrust into obscurity and become successful. They have gone through a gradual process. Oh, they've done a Pep and been gifted the Barcelona job, who were the best side on the planet, and built a legacy from that.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I will always say this to any fan and to any club of we're talking the mid to lower tables. When you're thinking about sacking your manager, be careful what you wish for. Just be careful what you wish for. And I know Burnley fans will say, hey, we had to sack Dyche. Look what we've done. We've come back up. You know what? You're going straight back down. You're going down. Unless you sack Company, you're going down. So you're going to be back to where you were. They were another team. They will sack Vincent Kompany. They will bring in a Sam Allardyce, and they'll be back where they were when they had Dyche. It never ends because everyone wants the new sexy thing on the block, and it just doesn't work for these teams.
Mate, spot on. Tracks, couldn't agree more. They're a Division 1 side of City without that oil money.
I love it. I love it.
But let's look at the table so far. So this is the top end of the table. And as we can see, City, the only team who have got a 100% record at the minute. That 9-goal difference, just the 2 goals against, which is pretty impressive from City. It hasn't really been talked about enough, I don't think. But some pretty big names following them. Spurs, Liverpool, West Ham.
A nosebleed. Mind the gap. Mind the gap, Arsenal. Jeez, you always question you how do things get where they are? And gee whiz, looking at West Ham there, and you spoke about the Man City conceding 2 goals. If I can just a bit of indulge it, West Ham only conceding 4 goals. that's elite. So no, long may continue. It's a bit of a joke, but they're there. And it is taking shape. And we've spoken about this before, about the importance of getting points, for these teams who do have European football coming up. West Ham, the fixtures are going to clog up with a smallish squad. So important to get points now. They're not finishing top 4. We know that. But you know what? They need to get to a phase where go hard at the cups. West Ham, European champions, won it last season. There's no greater feeling. Teams like West Ham, Brighton, Palace, they're never going to win the Premier League. They need to focus on the cups, right? And if West Ham can be in a position, these teams, Brighton as well, who are in Europe as well, if they could be in a position where their league position is safe, you go whole hog for those cups because that's the success you're going to get. And I love it. I love these teams getting points early.
Mate, I agree. I mean, it's you know what is impressive every year, but you look like 7th and above, the gap's already starting to appear between the best and the worst. And
yes,
it's early doors, but it just shows you how even the competition is. Do you know what I mean? In the middle rungs now, that fight for 4th, 5th, 6th with all these extra European spaces, like Fazz mentioned,
huge.
Some teams here as well featuring in Europe for the first time. That's going to create some opportunities as well for the other teams to really sneak in and get some big time football next year.
Well, like I said, that about Palace, you can see a West Ham, a Brighton, even a Villa who've got Europa. They'll drop down when the fixtures start to clog up, and that's when Palace can sneak in and Brentford can really sneak in and steal one of those spots. But you can really see the table taking shape. You've got probably your big 3 and your bottom 3, and I reckon it's almost throw a blanket over the other 14 teams. Like that's how tight it is at the moment. I consider Arsenal to obviously be up there as well. Maybe the big 4 is probably more of a same, but there is a big blanket over, I'd say 12 to 15 teams who flip a coin. I mean, you look at West Ham finishing 14th or whatever it was last season and now sitting 4th. Like there's just such a scope in that middle bracket of the table. And it's exciting. It's exciting. The European Conference and Europa League are awesome competitions. And there are going to be teams who are going to get to feature that. And you look at the other side of the table and just some big names down there too. Fuck, there's some huge names.
It's going to get hard, isn't it? I mean, you've got United, Chelsea, Newcastle.
Oh, dear.
It's already like, already you're at the stage now that United, Chelsea, Newcastle drop a couple more.
Wow. I mean, I don't tend to look at turn the page on the table these days, but that is pretty grim viewing for some of these clubs. And look, and I'm really big on, and this is no shock horror, guys. The sky is blue and the grass is green, right? So wait for this absolute twist of a thing. Goal difference. Generally, the teams that go down have the worst goal difference. Oh, shock. But this is where you start looking at trends. And I'm looking at Fulham, and I know they lost 5-1, but -6, not great to have this early. You're looking at, Burnley, Luton, Everton, -8, -7, -6. You don't want to be in the minuses, double figures, very early on. And some of these teams might be in double figure minuses early on, because we're not saying goal difference will keep you up, but to me, that shows me how your team is defensively. And you can't survive in the Premier League unless you can defend. Look at Burnley, 11 goals against. That's shit.
Mate, I think you nail it. And I think, I'm going to stick up for you here, Fazz, because I know that you're a huge fan of Poch, right? But
Yes.
I think you look at Chelsea, right? They get they shore themselves up a little bit at the back. Even though they've lost 2 games, they've still broke even on goals, right?
Yes.
So,
and that's the point that's the point I'm making. And
mean?
Newcastle similar.
But then you look at United, they've won 2 games, but they have hemorrhaged goals in every game. Do you know what I mean? Like every game, even in their wins, they've conceded quite heavily. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah,
there's a worry straight away for United, where everyone's writing off Chelsea. Some people asking question marks against Newcastle, who have lost, it has to be said, to very good football sides.
Yeah.
United need to start being wary there that the goals aren't going in one end, but they're hemorrhaging the other end. And that's not sustainable. As we know, we've just seen City absolutely pepper aside in second gear. United are conceding soft goals as well, which, as we know, soft goals get you relegated.
Absolutely. And that's the point I'm making with goal difference as well. It's the hidden formula of how a team's going. You say, as much as we've shit canned Chelsea, they got a goal for 0. They're 5-5. Basically, what that means is 1 or 2 lucky chances either way, and they could be undefeated. Do you know what I mean? Like, I look at the West Ham game that they lost, mate. They should have won that game, hands down. I'll put my hand up. They should have won it. They dominated that game. So 1 or 2 lucky chances. Penalty was saved in that game as well, and all of a sudden you're up the table. But when you've conceded 11 goals like Burnley, 10 goals like Fulham, 8s and all that, that's not lucky chances. That's your shit. That's shit defense. So
it's going to be very interesting, especially, I mean, this early in the season, to seeing 3 of most people's top 7 in that bottom half.
I don't want to say, I'm pretty sure Man United, Chelsea, Newcastle were 3 of my top 4.
Long way to go, Fazz. Long way to turn it around.
Yeah. Good stuff, but love it.
Ooh. Well, we come on next week, and this is, I think, some entertaining fixtures, and we've covered a lot of these teams. I think we're going to find out a lot about some of these sides, but we start with Wolves and Liverpool, and Faz, both of us predicting Liverpool to continue winning run.
Yeah, comfy win. Look, Wolves do have goals in them. I can see them maybe getting a goal from a set piece. But nah, this is comfy from Liverpool, and they'll just go about their business. Not much to say. 3-0, 4-0, 3-1, 4-1, whatever it is.
I think it's going to be comfortable.
Yep.
I think Wolves had their fun last week.
Yeah. I like this from you.
Well, I mean, you went 2-2, but I'm falling in love with Roy again.
I love it. I do love this. And this, so Villa, Palace, I think Villa have goals in them. I really do. 2-2. I love Roy. I couldn't split them. But I'm telling you now, if your result's correct, if Palace walk away with a 1-0, I'll call it. I'll call it Palace are here. They've arrived because, and that's danger signs for Villa too, especially, we talk about getting those points early. This is a game this is a must-win game for Villa, in my opinion. They have to win this game because they need to start getting these points. But, I like that from you. I do. 1-0, please. A Hodgson masterclass.
I've just got a feeling it's going to be one of them early goals, backs to the wall job.
Yes,
grinding.
You'll love to see it.
This one is an interesting one. Terry's got Luton sneaking a point here, but we've both gone with Fulham. Hard to look past Fulham.
Yeah, Terry, I'd agree with you, Terry, if it was at Luton. Watching the West Ham Luton game last week, what a shithole that place is. That is a hard place to go. They will get points at home just because no one wants to go there. So I'd agree with you. I reckon they could sneak a point, but I like Fulham. They'll score goals. I can see Luton maybe nicking a goal, but yeah, I think Fulham are just going to be too strong.
Mate, and then we've got my team, Man United, hosting Brighton. Oh. You've gone 1-0. I reckon De Zerbi masterclass.
Yeah, no, I've got 1-0. I think it's got to turn for United at some point. And would you say 1-0's a turn? Probably not, but I think they'll do enough to get the point. Brighton away from home. Oh, I wish.
He's backing your boys in. He's backing your boys in.
We'll see.
I hope it's 1-1. Brighton always seem to find a way against United.
Yeah.
We're not playing great football at the minute, but we go to a team that is Spurs. Back at White Hart Lane. Back at Spurs home ground. We're both going with a comfortable win here.
Look, I like the way Sheffield play. I think that they do have a defensive game plan, but confidence is a scary and dangerous thing, and I feel like Postecoglou has rubbed a bit of his self off on these boys. I'm sure there's a better way to describe it than what I just did, but I feel like they're full of confidence, and I just think they'll get one, turns into two, turns into three, and with Postecoglou, we know turns into four very quickly. Tottenham are going to be that team. If they can get 1 or 2 goals, it could become 4 or 5 in a half. So, yeah, I do like what Sheffield are doing, but I just think Tottenham at home is going to be way too strong.
Yeah, I'm with you. And then we've got your boys, entertaining, high-flying City. I hated to do this to you as well, Fazz. I went 3-0, you've gone 3-2.
I went 3-2 to City. Just because, I don't want to be that guy. I actually reckon West Ham will get a draw in this one. I've gone 3-2 for the safe bet, but this is a game where this is the City. You talk about Man City going through the motions. They're going to have to do more than go through the motions to beat West Ham this game. They want to play possession football. David Moyes, be our guest. West Ham beat Brighton 3-1. With 18%. Be our guest, play possession football, because I'm not sure if Man City's defense can cope with a Bowen, a Kudos if he comes on, an Antonio running at them, and a Ward-Prowse from set pieces. There will be goals in this. I'm almost certain West Ham will score. I've gone 3-2 because I just think City will just have that little bit of quality, but this is not going to be comfortable for them. They're probably going to have to play their best they've played this season, I think, to get a good result against West Ham, which is, awesome for me to say. Yeah.
Mate, I really did try and have a way of having it 1-0, 2-2.
Yeah.
I really thought, you know what, this could be it. But yeah, I'm with you. I just think too much quality, but
respect.
Would not be shocked. I would not be shocked the way you guys play football.
Yeah.
We've seen it. They have been caught on the counter. The 2 goals they've conceded this year have been from the counter. And you guys are the counter specialists.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing that probably adds to your favor a little bit more, is they have conceded only 2 goals for the year, and I've got them down to double that tally. So, yeah.
Lockie Jack's got 2-1 at West Ham.
And, mate. I'd love to see it.
Fazz will be up and about this time next week because he'll be able to put being top of the league for 7 days.
Yeah, absolutely. Imagine. Oh dear. Oh dear.
And then we've got Newcastle United. They entertain Brentford. We've both got them to bounce back.
Yeah, so we're on a similar page in this one. Brentford's a tough game. I mean, we're saying 3-1, 2-1. I think Brentford's a tough game. I love the way they play, but like with United, I said before, it's just got to turn for Newcastle, and they have to make it turn, because if they lose this one, all of a sudden they're going to drop to what, 15th, 16th. It has to. Talk about this is a must win. I've given it 3-1 because I think it's a must win for Newcastle. No ifs, ands, or buts. They have to win this game. I don't care if it's comes in off someone's arse cheek and they filthy a 1-0. They have to win this game. So,
mate, I'm with you. I think home crowd as well will will them in. Will
shit
give them
place
that.
To go.
Tough place, isn't it, St James's Park? So
yeah.
I think they'll be up and about.
Yeah, absolutely.
Up and about. And then Chelsea, Bournemouth. You've gone Chelsea coming back. I still feel Poch is still getting his teeth into the league, and I think he might become unstuck here.
I agree with Terry. It must win for Chelsea this week. I've just looked at the way they've played, and I've looked at the way Bournemouth have conceded. Sterling's going to be huge on this one. I'm putting down Sterling for a hat-trick, a hat-trick of being involved, whether it's 1 goal and 2 assists or 2 goals, whatever it is. Sterling will be involved in all 3 goals because that's the player that Bournemouth have been struggling against this season. The fast player running at them. I think this is a game for Pochettino to kind of stamp his authority a bit and say, hang on a minute, don't sleep on us just yet. Yeah, I think they'll get the business, but geez. Oh, fuck, I've been wrong on Chelsea all season, so
they're a tough one.
Long may it continue.
They're a tough one. We've both gone 3-0 Arsenal at Everton. There is no chance Arsenal lose this.
Yeah, I won't be tuning into that one, put it that way.
And we end with, I think this is a really intriguing counter. Notts Forest entertaining Burnley. You've gone 3-2, I've gone 1-1. This is like one of them that I just couldn't. I can make an argument for both sides to lose it and win it.
I found this one the hardest game to pick, to be honest. Knowing that I was going to come on here and shit can Burnley for the best part of an hour, I couldn't possibly tip them not to lose. So I'm calling it. I'm saying Forest 3-2. But if Burnley lose this game, I'm going to call it. They're in monster trouble if they lose this. It's going to be interesting. 6-pointer. 6-pointer. It's
going to be interesting because Forest, if they get this 3 points, it's going to be tough. I agree with you, Faz. It'll be tough to see where their next points come from, Burnley.
Oh, I can't see. If they keep playing the way they're playing, yeah, they might bullshit a win against someone because they're playing attacking football. But Forest set up well. They set up well. Yeah.
Especially their possession game football. We know Forest, they did it to United twice against the run of the play. Mate, I'm with you. It's going to be an interesting week of tips, but that is all we've got time for today. Thank you very much, everyone who tuned in. Quick question here from Terry. Any of you boys watched that article about Saudi League? As many views of the Premier League. Very worrying.
I didn't see it. I'll check it out. My immediate reaction to that is everyone likes something that's new and a bit different. I remember when the MLS first came on and everyone tuned into that because David Beckham was playing for LA Galaxy and everyone, and it kind of dwindled away. I think a lot of those numbers could be because of shit, I might just check this out. I keep hearing about it. I might just check it out. I suspect those numbers will drop off. I hope I'm right. I suspect those numbers to drop off as it goes on because it's just not interesting. But yeah.
I'm pretty sure, I need to recheck it, but that was just based on Channel 10 versus Optus in Australia, wasn't it? So I'd also say that's Australians are probably more familiar with Benzema, Ronaldo.
Yeah.
And
that's a good call.
It's them testing the waters, so to speak, of sticking to what you know, as opposed to the Premier League. I could be wrong, but I'm not worried. I mean, I've been listening to this debate in the UK with the transfer fees. The Premier League will always be the Premier League, and I think it will always find a way to stay above it. And end of the day, Champions League and a Premier League title sounds a little bit better. No offense to Saudi Arabia, but Saudi Arabia champion versus Premier League.
Yeah.
No contest, is there?
It's if it is going to change, it has to be a generational thing. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think you and I will be long and dead in the ground if Saudi Arabia football ever becomes the pinnacle, because it's a generational thing. No matter what they do, we're never going to, like, our generation is never going to move towards it. It's more going to be targeted at the kids, you know, because they've got the big name players. But yeah, as a parent, don't let them watch it. Don't let them watch it. That's Saudi Arabia League. What's that?
Mate, I agree with you. And thank you very much, Terry. Are you okay, Dave? Make sure you check in on your mates and loved ones. Not just today, though. Make sure you do it every day. We'll be back next week. Day dependent on how our egg team go on.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, fingers crossed. But tune in next week for more Burnley bashing, and keep it going.
Much love, everyone. See you next week.
See yous.